Hey, hey now. Man, I have some videos for you guys today. And there's more news than just the stuff about Israel. But yeah, I have a lot of stuff about Israel. A lot of Republicans, they do this when they get in front of their Jewish donors. They're all competing. There's literally nobody running for president who isn't saying that Israel should do whatever the hell they want. That's the line. So I'll show you guys various videos, show you some TikTok videos. I'll say hi to people who are here. Cadence is here. What's up, Cadence Films? Yeah, I also have a video about how Israel uses their defense forces to control the internet and the information that you see. So we'll give a second for people to get tuned in. You want to see some TikTok video first? Maybe I'll play that for you first. Good way to start. Here, let me show you some TikTok videos. Hey, Nuckfugget. Oh, I'm not a demon, I don't think. Although I talk to them on occasion. Here, check out the videos. The TikTok videos of dancing Israeli armed forces are the ones that are going to convince you to join up as soon as possible. Well, I guess you have to. In Israel, everybody has to join the military, boys and girls. I also have the hockey player who died. Yeah, I also have that story. Although I don't think I'm going to show you the video. But you guys have to decide on that one. A lot of people have seen the video now, whether it was a freak accident, as headlines say. The headlines seem to say that he died of a freak accident, but it seemed like the guy intentionally sent his skate right up his neck. I'm not going to show it to you because I don't like seeing videos of people dying. And I don't know if I'm allowed to show it, actually. So let me just play this. We'll start you off with some propaganda. Some propaganda from some pretty good dancing, actually. There you go. It's in a loop. That's one TikTok video. There's another funny TikTok video of heavy IDF combatant. I guess they don't have standards either. I've heard of us lowering our standards to let people into the military. It's hard to believe that this person can fight, but I am so obsessed. I want to chop your body. I need to carry you. When I make I see you, you're my love, man. Let's make it back to know. I am so. I know you wish I hadn't shown you that one. Now let me show you. I'll play a longer video of how Israel controls the information that you see on the internet. Now, if you say anything that's anti-Zion, if you're anti-Zionist or anti-Israel, you are anti-Semitic, apparently. So even this show, where I am not anti-Semitic, I actually am not. I know some people who are, though. But in general, criticism of Israel, the thing is Jews do it in Israel. You know what I mean? There are plenty of Jews in Israel that don't agree with what their government does. But from this side, if you criticize the Israeli government, then you're going to be labeled as anti-Semitic, and that's what they want to do. I'll show you. Let me just show you this video. By If Americans Knew, I don't know how to credit this. And it has something that says @JustDude channel. I'm going to play you like, I don't know, at least 3 minutes of this video because this is pretty enlightening. Let me share that tab. And probably Americans take part in this too, but they do from like Jewish community centers and stuff. But then actually Israeli soldiers, when you join the IDF, a lot of them are just paid to troll people on the internet, you know, and they've probably done it to me in the past. I've been labeled an anti-Semite. I have been labeled that way, and I'm doing like everything I can not to be labeled that way because I don't like being trolled. So now that I'm a very minor figure, I'm a very minor character, so I don't get trolled as much anymore, and that's just fine with me. I'm happy with the people that tune into this show. The approximately 33 people who are tuned in now, that's fine with me. As long as you buy my t-shirts. Just kidding, you don't have to, but you could. Truthclothing.io. I'm wearing a Crypto Future t-shirt. I am excited about the cryptocurrency Solana at the moment, but no, let me stick with the Jewish news. I also have Gavin Newsom running over a Chinese kid playing basketball. I'll play you that later too. Here's an educational video.
While many groups and governments wish to censor the internet, Israel and its partisans are among the most globally significant. They work to promote the Israel narrative while blocking facts about Palestine, the Israel lobby, and other subjects they wish to cover up. Much of this is done by devoted individuals acting independently, voluntarily, and relentlessly. But many of these activists are part of orchestrated, well-funded projects sponsored by the Israeli government and other pro-Israel groups. They utilize Israeli soldiers, students, American teens and seniors, and range from infiltrating Wikipedia to influencing YouTube. As we'll see, some even operate out of Jewish community centers in the US. One such group is the Israeli military's New Media Desk.
It is well known nowadays that what happens on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube has great influence on events as they occur on the ground. The internet, too, is a battleground. It is thus comforting to learn that the IDF employs soldiers who tweet, share, like, and more.
It's comforting, right?
Another project initiated in 2011 by the National Union of Israeli Students has the stated goal to deepen and expand Hasbara, or state propaganda activities of students in the state of Israel.
Unit 8200.
Under this program, Israeli students are paid to, quote, lead the battle against hostile websites. The students are tasked with what many would call shilling or trolling in online forums and social media. They're directed to create original content in the form of news reports and blogs, edit Wikipedia, inject pro-Israel messages into discussions on social media, as well as to report and remove what they consider to be allegedly anti-Semitic content. It's important to note that criticism of Israel is not the same thing as anti-Semitism, despite Israel's best efforts to redefine the word.
Anti-Zionism is the new anti-Semitism.
Anti-Zionism is anti-history, anti-humanity, and anti-Semitic. It's pure anti-Semitism. Let's use our power on social media to educate our society.
Now, interestingly, this charity, the International Holocaust Remembrance Association, has also given a number of examples of what sort of behavior should be called out alongside this, which are actions which seek to stereotype Jewish people, to justify attacking or killing them, claiming that the state of Israel is a racist endeavor, or comparing it to Nazi Germany.
When there is dissent expressed in the United States against policies of the Israeli government, people here are called anti-Semitic. What is your response to that as an Israeli Jew?
Well, it's a trick. We always use it. When from Europe somebody is criticizing Israel, then we bring up the Holocaust. When in this country people are criticizing Israel, then they are anti-Semitic.
Now, I know what they do because I used to ask them to do it. I mean, when I was in the Mossad and we had a guy that gave us problems in the U.S., and he was speaking out, and he was talking like Pete talked once and said, Israel is bombing Lebanon with cluster bombs. We say, hey, who's that guy? You know? And of course the campaign starts, and before you know it, the guy's labeled. And he's an anti-Semite, because that's what we say he is.
Another pro-Israel organization that targets public information on the internet is CAMERA, the Committee for Accuracy.
So that's good. I feel comfortable playing that much of the clip. It's a 14-minute video. It's a pretty good video, explaining also how they edit Wikipedia. But yeah, I in my career have been labeled an anti-Semite by somebody out there. There's this one character on the internet who goes around as his own private kind of ADL, getting people canceled, getting people's PayPal shut down. Well, my PayPal was shut down, so I can't use PayPal or their other, what is the other one called? I can't remember, but I can't use PayPal services myself, and I'm not sure why, but it may be for being labeled an anti-Semite, and that may be from a video I did talking about Chabad Lubavitch, which Jared Kushner and his wife were a part of. So saying that they were they were an end times cult, basically. That's what I said, which they are actually. I mean, we want Messiah now, Messiah. So there are, but it's not limited to just Zionism is not limited to just Jewish people. So anti-Zionism should not be called anti-Semitism, for one, because there are many Jews who are not Zionists and are anti-Zionist, and they're not anti-Jew because they're Jewish themselves. So, and Zionism is a particular philosophy that believes basically that Israel owns Palestine. And it started out a long time ago, and then there was the thing in what was it called? Now I can't remember. There was the Balfour Declaration around the time of the First World War, where the British got behind because there was a state called Palestine, which wasn't Jewish, and which someone proposed early on to create a Jewish state there in the so-called Holy Land that we had the Crusades over. And actually in the formation of Israel, they actually used terrorism in order to create that state. But then it was ultimately created after the Second World War, after the Holocaust. So, and the Holocaust was used as justification for why Jews needed their own state. So that's why they always will bring up the Holocaust. And like that lady said, if people criticize from Europe, then you bring up the Holocaust. That's what they do. So anyway, I want to go out of my way to just say I certainly, Jews have done all kinds of great things, but we should acknowledge that they have a lot of control over politics, that Zionist Jews in particular have a lot of control over politics, including Adelson, who funded much of Donald Trump's campaign. So I'm going to show you what the various, and it's like a competition, basically, between presidential candidates to see who can be the most pro-Zionist in front of the Jewish coalition. I've shown video like this before, but I'll just show you various speakers in front of this Jewish coalition, Republican Jewish coalition, where all the presidential candidates and the new Speaker of the House spoke. Thanks, Street Ghost. Appreciate that. Yeah, if you want to support the show, you can give super chats or super stickers. Thanks for the $1.99 super sticker, Street Ghost, and that's good. That helps. Any little bit helps. This is what I'm doing right now for my work and for my brain. But any little bit helps. And so we appreciate every super chat that we get, no matter what size. And we appreciate every coffee that we get at buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil, where you can leave a message for me at any time, including after the show. So in addition to t-shirts, that's a way to support the show. So here, I'll just play you the different clips of these Republican candidates in front of the Jewish coalition. See if you see if there's any difference between any of them, including Vivek Ramaswamy, who there's no one calling for a ceasefire right now in politics. Except for maybe AOC and I don't know, maybe one or two people from the so-called squad on the Democrat side. So this is an issue, actually. Anti-Zionism is more of a Democrat thing than a Republican thing. And actually, my followers are more Republican than Democrat, but I believe the people that follow this show or tune into this show are more anti-Zionist, or maybe would be calling for a ceasefire, or maybe pro-Palestinian, whatever you want to call it. And not anyone I would label as an anti-Semite, but people concerned, I would show you videos of the bombings and the dead children and stuff, but I don't like looking at them, and you've probably seen them yourself, and I don't want to get in trouble for showing violence, So anyway, these candidates, including Donald Trump, are not against what Israel is doing right now to the Palestinians, including shutting off their power, shutting off their internet, etc. So Monica says pro-justice is the word. Pro-justice is the word. All right. So yeah, pro-justice. I mean, the Palestinians live under occupied. They're illegally occupied. So actually, when people say, oh, Israel doesn't owe them power or medicine or anything, they do actually, because they're the ones occupying what is illegally occupied land as per the UN and other organizations. So anyway, I'll play you the different clips. Here's Donald Trump.
State Department, which is admitting colossal amounts of jihadists into our communities and campuses and our refugee programs. That's why you see all of these big demonstrations in New York and Chicago. Nobody can believe what's taking place. They're letting them in at levels that nobody's ever seen before. We cannot allow that to happen, and we don't want to be like Europe with jihads on every corner. That's what happens. I mean, we're going to be like Europe. You take a look at London, you take a look at Paris, you take a look at what's going on over there. We want to be the United States of America, and we want to make our country great again. Right now, we don't have a great country. We have a laughingstock. As president, I will end once and for all the mass importation of anti-Semitism into the United States. And just as I did before, we will keep radical Islamic terrorists the hell out of our country. We're going to keep them out of our country. We were keeping them out. We were keeping them out. You remember the travel ban? On day one, I will restore our travel ban. We had a travel ban because we didn't want people coming into our country who really love the idea of blowing our country up. Let's blow up our streets and our shopping centers and our people. So I instituted what we call the Trump travel ban, and it was an amazing success. It was suspended immediately upon his coming into the country. And I never talked about this for 4 years. I never mentioned it. We didn't have one incident in 4 years because we kept bad people the hell out of our country. We kept them out. We didn't have not one instance. I didn't want to say it during the 4 years because I didn't want to walk out of the speech and have something happen, right? I'll also be implementing strong ideological screenings for all immigrants coming in. If you hate America, if you want to abolish Israel, if you sympathize with jihadists, then we don't want you in our country, and you're not going to be getting into our country.
There you go. That's Donald Trump saying he'll stop people coming in. He'll do another travel ban. He banned people from various countries from coming in. And fortunately, we haven't had another terror attack. We haven't had one under Joe Biden either. I was questioning many of those so-called terror attacks that were happening back at the time. I don't want to do that anymore. But it's good not to have terrorist attacks. That's certain. But the protests that are going on in London, there was a giant protest. In Turkey, there was a giant protest. He's saying he doesn't want to have those protests here. And people say the protests, automatically, they just say they're pro-Hamas, even when many of them are just pro-Palestinian. Sometimes there are bad people, or there are people who might say they're pro-Hamas. I think at some of the rallies, they had ISIS flags and stuff. That is a little crazy. But anyway, that's Donald Trump at the Republican coalition. Here's DeSantis. DeSantis shuts down student groups. He's known for that. I mean, he might be the most. It's crazy that someone could be more pro-Zionist than Donald Trump, who moved the embassy to Jerusalem and who has a town named after him in the Golan Heights. It's crazy someone could be even more pro-J or pro-Zionist than Donald Trump. But as far as shutting down free speech, DeSantis might have done the most to do that. But everybody's, I mean, every senator's just signed something saying that people can't say they're pro-Palestine. So anyway, here's DeSantis at that same meeting.
We also saw the rise of these chapters called Students for Justice in Palestine. And this is a group that took pains to say that they don't, quote, stand in solidarity with what Hamas did, that they are one and the same with what Hamas did. Well, you know, you may have a First Amendment right to say a lot of dumb things, but you do not have a right to give material support to terrorists. So we deactivated the Students for Justice in Palestine in the state of Florida. It's done. And we're not going to put up with this. I'm sick of funding our enemies. We're not doing that anymore in this country.
There you go.
We also saw.
So that's Ron DeSantis. Here is the new Speaker of the House. I'll play what he said. He says that we'll support Israel no matter what. I mean, basically, it's just like they can do whatever they want. And in fact, they might as well raise Gaza to the ground and then just take it over. So, and that's a particular, and there are Christian Zionists. So that's the other thing I was getting into is if you're anti-Zionist, the biggest lobby in the United States for Zionism is Christians United for Israel, CUFI. So, being anti-Zionist saying it's anti-Jewish is not necessarily true because it's anti-Christian too. Christian evangelicals in particular, not all Christians believe in this particular ideology, this end times ideology, but this guy does, and he's the new Speaker of the House. So I'll play what he said at the Jewish Coalition.
Steve Scalise mentioned that this
was all at the same place.
As the Speaker was to bring the resolution to make formal and official in the congressional record our resolve to stand with Israel and against the barbarism of Hamas and all of its accomplices. But I want you to know, yeah, it's not an accident that the first resolution was for Israel and my first trip was to come and be with you. I want everybody to know where we stand.
Wow, that's crazy. Isn't it crazy? What the hell? You know what I mean? The first thing he did was pass that thing that's pro-Israel. And then the first place he went was to the Republican Jewish Coalition. I mean, and it was the first place the presidential candidates got together. I'll play you what Vivek said and show you what Vivek said on multiple shows. People who thought he was different. There's nobody different that's running for president. You're not going to have a choice. It seems like it's like, what's the difference between what he said and being Israel first? What's the difference? Is anyone actually America first? I mean, not to give that name too much credit, but still, I mean, really, he's just saying, oh yeah, the first thing I did in the first place I went. First thing I did was have a statement that's pro-Israel, anti-free speech. And the first place I came was the Republican Jewish Coalition. And they all say the same thing.
Thank you.
And it's a good comment. Yeah, it's anti Vladdy Dottie says our politicians are pro-America and First Amendment. Some of them are pro-First Amendment until it comes to Israel. And then Israel comes first. Yeah. So somebody says I should be a co-host on Timcast. Hey, I like that. I could use a job, and I bet that pays okay, or something at least. I bet it pays something. Thanks, Stingy Metal. Good to see you. You say you haven't seen the show for a while. Yeah, I did go out of my mind though for a period of time, for a stretch, but I'm back. Thank you for joining me, Stingy Metal. Appreciate it. Who says he hasn't watched LTV in a long time? So yeah, man, what the hell? Like, honestly, like if you just woke up and saw what all our different politicians were saying, I'm going to play you. I have so many clips. I guess I should keep playing it because I have so many clips. Vivek is going to be coming up soon too.
Thank you.
And to pretend, and then it's anti-Semitic to say it has anything to do with money. But it does, obviously. I mean, these guys are here speaking in front of the Republican Jewish Coalition because they want money, right? I mean, as well as the support, but the votes, the Zionist vote is can't be nearly as important as the Zionist pocketbook for these guys. And they say that's anti-Semitic to say. I mean, it's just the truth. Look at the Forbes 500 list and look how it's disproportionately represented by Jewish people. I mean, just do some research on it and then think about it and think, oh, okay, well, the main thing that politicians do is try to get money. So why do they say these things? Like, why do they say these things? Why do they go out of their way to say Israel could do whatever they want? And we're going to shut down anyone who criticizes them and label them as anti-Semitic and say that they're funding terrorism or what have you. Use whatever means necessary. If it doesn't have to do, at least somewhat with money, because there are a lot of people who don't care what happens to Israel. There are a lot of people now, just disproportionate amount of Republicans do support Israel. A lot of that is because of evangelicals, right? Who Netanyahu just makes fun of, really, as for how much they can easily be manipulated. So anyway, I'll play this.
I hope they hear this around the world. I hope they know where we stand. There's no ambiguity about this. Jewish students today are no longer feeling safe on their college campuses, where liberal administrators are actively supporting and promoting and protecting organizations which are solely dedicated to anti-Israel propaganda. But we must not only call out these anti-Semitic attacks, we must act. So as Steve mentioned, in the week ahead, House Republicans will work swiftly to pass legislation to provide Israel much needed resources in their fight against these barbaric terrorists. We will stand with Israel strongly. And I want to echo another message that may have been shared here over the day. This message is to the UN. There will be a ceasefire only when Hamas ceases to be a threat to Israel. Israel and the U.S. enjoy an unbreakable bond that's forged over decades, of course, of bilateral assistance. And there are lots of reasons that we do that. They are obviously our greatest ally in the Middle East, and clearly they are one of our most important friends. Kelly and I have so enjoyed our own trips to Israel. Most recently, we went with our dear friends, Congressman Jim Jordan and his wife, Polly. On that trip, yeah, Jim Jordan always gets a shout. That's right. He's known everywhere. We were walking down the streets of Jerusalem and people are coming up, Jim Jordan, selfies. I'm like, really? Hero?
Trump is on a coin
and at that time,
over
they
there.
said, hey, will you
He's
take
got his
our
own
picture? I
coin.
was the photographer. Seriously. This morning, Prime Minister Netanyahu said unequivocally, this is his quote, "This is our second war of liberation. We're going to fight, and it will be the good over evil, light over darkness." Last night, I spoke with him on the telephone. The Prime Minister called me, and I used those very words myself. I said, Bibi, it's good over evil. It's light over darkness. We all see that. I assure the Prime Minister of our unwavering support of Israel and her people, and I assured him that our Congress, and under my leadership, we will be there until the end. We will be there until the end of this conflict.
Yeah.
As a Christian, I know and we believe that the Bible teaches very clearly that we're to stand with Israel, that God will bless the nation that blesses Israel, that we're to take the peace of Jerusalem. Exactly.
Well, they're ready for the end. He says, we will be with them till the end. They mean till like end times. Oh my goodness. So, all right. Vivek Ramaswamy. Now is the moment for Israel to return to its founding premise. The Jewish state has an absolute right to exist. A divine gift, gifted to a divine nation, charged with divine purpose. Israel has an absolute and unequivocal right and responsibility to defend itself to the fullest, applying the only language its adversaries understand, the language of force, which is the only language they understand. Force, they're under siege, and they're painting it as a holy war, light against dark. I showed that the other day. Here's I mean, this is Ramaswamy, who a lot of people thought they might like, but RFK Jr. has gone the same way. I mean, it's not just a Republican thing. Hillary Clinton, I'll play a clip from her too. Here's Ramaswamy at the same conference.
I would love nothing more than for the IDF to put the heads of the top 100 Hamas leaders on stakes and line them up on the Israel-Gaza border as a sign that October 7th, 2023 will never happen again, and then to use all of those saved resources to build the border defenses of the future. But that is Israel's decision to make, not ours. That is what David Ben-Gurion would tell Israel to do. That is what George Washington would tell the United States to do. I would love nothing more than for the IDF.
I think Ramaswamy is at least advocating. We give him money, but the money we give, or the 3.8 billion or whatever, it's all spent on American weapons. All the money, it's a money laundering thing. It's a reach around, basically, as I've heard it described. We allocate money to Israel, but it's to be spent on weapons. So we spend it here. The money we allocate from money we don't have. We spend it here, and then we ship them the weapons. And now we're apparently I'm sure they're gonna approve more money for Israel. But it's not like we give it to Israel. We buy weapons and we give it to them. And I think we helped them build the Iron Dome, right? So here's Vivek again. I think Vivek is saying that we don't need to give them more money, but that if Iran gets involved, I mean, we're pretty close to a world war right now, because if Iran gets involved, then we're gonna go. I don't know. Anyway, here's Vivek again.
Israel has a right to its own national self-defense, and it should defend itself to the fullest without answering to the U.S. or Europe or the UN or anybody else. But I worry that if we go beyond our standard pre-committed $3 billion per year aid to Israel, if we go on to specifically get involved militarily in this war, then we have to ask questions that demand specific answers about clear war objectives that I don't think is in the U.S. interest or in Israel's interest. So my view as an America First conservative is that Israel is our most important ally in the Middle East, but they get to make their own decisions about their national self-defense. But if we're going to get involved, I do have some serious concerns about a prolonged ground invasion in Gaza that, with U.S. involvement, could result in a broader war in the Middle East. So my message is clear. Give an ultimatum to Iran. You stay out, then we stay out, and I'm looking after making sure that our people, our Americans, are brought out of harm's way. Israel has a right to its own national self.
So at least he's kind of saying we shouldn't get involved in the ground invasion. I have Chris Christie. Oh my God. Criticism of Israel is not free speech. I don't know what to say. I don't know what you're allowed to say, but I've heard anti-Zionist Jews talk about it before. So I feel like here's Chris Christie saying that criticism of Israel is not free speech. So he's there too. He doesn't have a chance. It's just going to be Trump, it looks like. But all these other guys are still in it. Mike Pence dropped out. You might have heard. Doesn't matter. He didn't have a chance.
We know that they hide behind the falsity of free speech.
The falsity.
There is a difference, everyone, between free speech and hate speech. There is a difference between free speech and violence.
No, there isn't.
There is a difference.
Okay. Just to be clear, there is no difference between free speech and hate speech. Free speech is free speech, including free hate speech. But, I mean, there is no such thing. If somebody wants to be clear about what our Constitution allows, it explicitly allows hate speech. You can't incite people to violence directly, but you can do a lot of stuff just short of that. And politicians saying that there's a difference, especially on the Republican side, where they've been censored, right? I mean, what have Republicans been censored for? So we're saying like men can't be women, which they said was hate speech because he said, oh, it incites violence against trans people. To say men can't be women, or men shouldn't be allowed to compete in women's sports, or trans women shouldn't be able to compete in women's sports. People have been censored for that. People have been censored for saying that children shouldn't be mutilated, shouldn't undergo gender affirming care because they called it hate speech. And that's what they say on the left. They say free speech and hate speech are different. They're not different. The ADL used to, I'm sorry, the ACLU used to stand up for hate speech. The ACLU stood up for the KKK marching in Jewish neighborhoods because it's allowed in this country. So, lest we forget, when he says that, it's not true. In America, you can say, if you wanted to, you can say, I hate Jews. You could say that. Or that you hate Israel. You could say that. I'm not saying that. I don't. Because there are many different kinds of Jews. I am against racism. But actually, if you wanted to go with a billboard like Bruce Willis did in the movie that said, I hate N-words, you're even allowed to do that. You can say that. And people use the N-word on Twitter quite a lot, or, here and there. And it's not considered, it's still considered free speech. But for some reason, it's you just say that, you say, oh, from the river to the sea, you're saying you're calling for the annihilation of Jews. Well, I understand why they say that, but it's still free speech. And just to see Republicans, who stands up for, what politician stands up for the right of people to speak? No matter what they say, as long as it doesn't incite violence or lead directly to violence, or you're even allowed to support the Taliban or ISIS. You can show up with an ISIS flag and not get arrested, at least in this country. That's what supposedly made this country different, is that we have free speech. You can say you hate people. You can use slurs and stuff. You can do that without getting arrested. And I proved that when I was going through stuff. I proved that you can say certain things and the law can't do anything about it. And not in America. In other countries, if you say the wrong thing about trans people, you might get a visit from the police. You might get arrested. You might have charges brought against you. That doesn't happen here. It's not allowed. They can attack you. They can censor you, private companies and so forth. And they say, free speech, but with consequences. Sure, there can be consequences, like you get fired from your job. Your employer can decide not to. So that's true. There are those consequences that are, allowed, because of free enterprise, because businesses are allowed to fire people whenever they want for whatever reason they want. So that's true. But the government, no, they're not supposed to get involved in that. And that's what they are getting involved in, especially in Florida and stuff.
Between incitement and free speech.
Yes, that's true.
And what's going on in our college campuses today is not free speech. It is hate speech. What's going on our campus.
Bushidoki says you can burn the American flag. And I actually did that on video once. I burned an American flag just to show, not because I hate America, but just to show that that's an acceptable form of speech. When Donald Trump says you should get arrested for it, you can burn American flags. And I've been to Antifa rallies where they burn American flags, but that's allowed. But yeah, you say you don't think people should get fired. Yeah, I don't think people should either. But there's, because of, we give employers so much latitude in this country to, like, when you get a job here, you have to sign something that says You're at will, right? Like you can get fired at any time for any reason, as long as it's not discrimination. I mean, as long as you're a white male who's not too old. But if you're in any protected group, then you're not allowed to be fired for any reason, not necessarily. But yeah, I feel you. Like you shouldn't be able to lose a job. But like for me, I might have trouble getting hired because of some of the things I've said. And I understand that. It's not cool. I don't like it, but I understand that that's the world we live in. That there can be consequences. But for saying you support Palestine, or if you say something like from the river to the sea, yeah, I don't think people should get fired for that. For just being pro-Palestine or pro-human rights or pro-ceasefire. Anyway, let me get through this.
Campuses today is inciting violence, is inciting fear.
We haven't had that.
And we now know.
Inciting fear.
We now know
Inciting
the
fear.
impact it's having on our children. Not one Jewish child should have to hide in their dorm or their apartment because of fear of their safety or fear of ridicule. And yet on college campuses all over this country, that is happening today. And it is happening with the acquiescence of university leadership all throughout this country. We have been here before, haven't we? We've been here before. This is not the first time that we've seen people expressing this and saying, as they observe it, it's not our problem. The world knew what was going on in Germany in the 1930s, and they said, it's not our problem. It was isolationism, everyone. American isolationism that led to those excuses. It was isolationism from other nations around the world that allowed them to turn their backs on what we're seeing on college campuses in America today.
Yeah. The one instance was they said Jews were locked in the library, fearing for their safety. I played you the cops who said there was no issue. I haven't seen any violence against Jews so far in America. There have been some situations where protesters clashed, but we have protesters clash over all kinds of things. Like you can't, like pro-life or pro-choice protesters clash sometimes. People get heated. Somebody was trying to burn an Israeli flag. Somebody tried to stop them. But again, we haven't seen. I would hate to see it, actually, though. To the extent that there could be violence against Jews, I would really hate to see that. People being attacked because they're Jewish or because they're Zionist or because of the things they say and promote. I would hate to see people attacked for it. So I'm against that too. And I'm against incitement to violence. But there has to be a dividing line between, actual free speech and that. Here's Hillary Clinton, same story though, says that a ceasefire would be wrong. That's the main thing now, right? As they say, a ceasefire would be a win for Hamas. So here's Hillary Clinton, same story. I mean, we don't have any politicians, except for maybe AOC, who's calling for a ceasefire.
People who are calling for a ceasefire now do not understand Hamas. That is not possible. It would be such a gift to Hamas because they would spend whatever time there was a ceasefire in effect rebuilding their armaments, creating stronger positions to be able to fend off an eventual assault by the Israelis. So we're in a very different world. I don't think it had to be the world we're in, but that's where we are, and we've got to figure our way forward through it.
Whatever that means. So that's Hillary Clinton, same story. No ceasefire. We should not have a ceasefire. People who are calling for a
ceasefire now.
Let me play you another. Let me play you a clip of Well, Black Hebrew Israelites apparently are getting in fights against pro-Palestinians. I don't know what that's about, but I have video of it. And I also have video of, okay, hold on. Let me close some tabs. I showed you the TikTokers. Here's, man, I mean, what are these? All anti-Semites? These are pro-Palestine rallies. Let me show you this. This was huge in Turkey. And there was a huge one in London too, that they said was 100,000, but it could have been as many as 500,000 people. People want peace. And people want to see the Palestinian people not be, it's collective punishment for them to be cut off from their fuel and their electricity and their internet. Then even when, here's the one in London. Let me show you that. And their signs say, stop bombing Gaza, ceasefire, etc. I have a guy. Here. I have a guy going up to John Fetterman, just pleading for a ceasefire. He gets thrown out. I'll show you that. Guy gets thrown out just for saying we should have a ceasefire. So, I mean, there are people dying of, because they can't get medicine. There's no power for incubators for babies. And they say it's all because of this terror attack that happened that killed 1,400 people supposedly. But I don't even know where the evidence is for how bad. Well, the terror attack was wrong in the sense that they targeted civilians and took hostages and stuff. So I condemn the terrorist attack, but I wish I knew more about it. A lot of the stories say that the Israeli forces also killed hostages and Israelis. So, but I am against terrorism against civilians. So in that sense, I'm happy to condemn Hamas for the terror attack and for killing that German girl who apparently they found her skull now. Here's somebody asking John Fetterman about a ceasefire, though. I'll play you that.
Why aren't you supporting a humanitarian ceasefire? No, I'm with the team. I can talk to. No, I can talk to. I voted for him. I'm sorry, this isn't democracy. It absolutely is. Yeah, but kind of, sort of. Why? 10,000 people in Gaza have been killed, half are children. The Pope's calling for a ceasefire. The UN has called for it. I'm just asking you. You're a good guy. I voted for you. I know you're a nice guy. This is important. You need to leave. Here, can I give you a phone?
I can't believe this.
I asked you a question. I asked you a question.
He just assaulted him. He just assaulted him. He just assaulted him. He just assaulted him. He was just talking to him. He's assaulted him.
So there you go. That happened. And like I said, Democrats are more likely to be pro-Palestine, it seems like. And that seemed like innocuous question, no big deal. Hey, why don't you support a ceasefire? I voted for you. But nope. All right. So yeah, that's a lot of news about Israel. Oh, okay. Here is Prime Minister Netanyahu trying to ratchet up tension with Iran. So that's where this goes next. I mean, we're going into a war. Hope you guys have your gold or your Bitcoin or silver. Silver had a good day today. Hope you guys have your stuff that goes up. If there's wartime inflation, we are kind of being drawn into a war with Iran, possibly. So that's where things go next. Here's Netanyahu speaking in English.
I want to make clear Israel's position regarding a ceasefire. Just as the United States would not agree to a ceasefire after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, or after the terrorist attack of 9/11, Israel will not agree to a cessation of hostilities with Hamas after the horrific attacks of October 7th. Calls for a ceasefire are calls for Israel to surrender to Hamas, to surrender to terrorism, to surrender to barbarism. That will not happen. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bible says that there is a time for peace and a time for war.
Does it?
This is a time for war, a war for our common future. Today, we draw a line between the forces of civilization and the forces of barbarism. It is a time for everyone to decide where they stand. Israel will stand against the forces of barbarism until victory. I hope and pray that civilized nations everywhere will back this fight, because Israel's fight is your fight. Because if Hamas and Iran's axis of evil win, you will be their next target. That's why Israel's victory will be your victory. But make no mistake, regardless of who stands with Israel, Israel will fight until this battle is won, and Israel will prevail. May God bless Israel, and may God bless all those who stand with Israel.
There you go. And may God hate and punish anyone who doesn't. So that's Netanyahu. Let's see. I think that's enough about Israel for today. I'll show you Gavin Newsom. I'll show Gavin Newsom running over a Chinese kid playing basketball. He's in China right now for some reason. Said it's time for us to turn down the heat on China, that we have to reconcile our strategic red lines. So here he is. He met with President Xi, and then he ran over this kid. I'll play you the video. There it is. Boom. Oh. Okay. Just funny video. Better than the hockey thing that happened. Better than the hockey thing. The hockey thing, maybe we should ban skates. I haven't even gotten into the hockey thing. All right, there's a thing about, there's some concerns about Bill Gates because he made so much money on the pandemic. Let's see. I think I might be about, I'm not going to show you the clip, but I can show you when you search for hockey player dies. Mr. Cranky says, I listen to NPR and I'm pro Gaza. Yeah, I do listen to NPR sometimes, not often. I did when I was having it helped me to have some kind of radio on. So I did listen to some NPR when I was going through my stuff. But here, this is the interesting thing about the hockey thing, is they call it a freak accident. But when you see it, it looks like he did it on purpose. And he is being investigated. So, but you can see the headlines here, freak accident in quotes. Some people are saying it's because he was black, that they're not calling it a homicide or something, or that they're not saying it was intentional because he was a black hockey player. That's all I'm saying. I don't like getting involved in racial strife. So I'm not going to say, but it did look like, if you watch the video, which I'm not going to show you because I'm not going to show you video of somebody getting killed, it does look like he kind of did it on purpose. So he should maybe face manslaughter charges. And that's what this Yahoo headline says. Hockey players should be charged with manslaughter. Okay, so I have that. Let's see if there's anything else I need to cover with you guys today. I covered almost everything. Let's see. I could show you. Okay, let me show you. Hey, Sumi, you want to be on camera? Come here. Okay, Sumi wants to be on camera. This is Sumi. She is asking for donos right now. That's why she's here. Sumi, how do you ask for donos? You need food, right? And I can't afford it because I'm not employed. So you can send Sumi money by buying a t-shirt, like I have the Crypto Future t-shirt on today. So here's me and Sumi begging for donos. You're a nice dog. What do you need? You want some food? I'll give you some. We're almost wrapping up. It's been about an hour. It's 3:11. Does time mean anything? I'll see if anybody has any questions in the chat. Then we'll wrap it up. Oh wow, job for 9. It worked. It worked, Sumi. It worked. Thanks, job for 9. Appreciate you. Oh, Stingy Metal says, what's in those racks? Yeah, you see those over there? Shirts. Here, hoodies and stuff. The camera follows me, right? Here you go. Let's see. I have this special camera effect. Over here, we have more. Here, I'll show you. There's hoodies. That's a question everything hoodie. I got to remember where to put it back, though. Let's see. Over here on this side, I have propaganda hoodies. That's all at this thing, truthclothing.io. Propaganda hoodie. Oh, no. I have to remember which shelf I brought it from. Let's see. XL. There's these shirts, which say, I prefer dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery. That's for Slow News Day. You can buy these shirts. That's all at truthclothing.io. And then I got Crypto Future shirts over here. I have these. This is a classic, Truth Matters. This is a great shirt. These are available for sale. I have Lift the Veil, Never Normal shirts. These are on sale for $15. And if you become a member anywhere, I can send you one of those maybe for free. Oh, and then we have Nassim shirts. Here's Nassim, who was driven mad by YouTube censorship. So that's all available at truthclothing.io. And now we can check the charts for thanks a lot, job for 9. Appreciate it. Yeah, we have a room full of merchandise which we're looking to move, and some of it's on sale. Like I showed you the Lift the Veil, some Crypto Future, the shirt I'm wearing today is $10, just $10 plus shipping. And there's stuff that's free too at that website, truthclothing.io. And you can also donate by Cash App at $LTV411. $LTV411. That's correct. A Cash App. Somebody sent me a $20 Cash App the other day. Thank you for that. Somebody made a big order the other day. Thank you for that. Thank you for everybody who supports the show. I'm trying to figure out what I can do for regular work too. Oh, if you want consulting services, then text me at 650-GAY-TAXI or contact me on Twitter at LiftTheVeil411. Or yeah, contact me either of those ways. You can text me at 650-GAY-TAXI, or you can reach out to me on Twitter for consulting services of any kind, to talk to me for an hour or something if you want. I have a rate for that. So if people have consulted me for various things, mostly cryptocurrency, that's what I helped with before. Bitcoin is poised to do particularly well. But I also like gold and silver. Silver had a good day today. Yeah, it's up at like $23.50. So good. This is good. So yeah, consult. I love to do consulting. And I also do, like, if you have kids, I could teach math too, tutoring services. So SAT test prep in particular, I used to have that job. I did SAT test prep because I got a perfect score on my SATs. And my first job out of college was teaching that, and graduate tests as well. If you need help with a class you're taking at a college or something that has math in it, I can help with that. Just contact me and we can set up a Zoom session or what have you. And if anyone wants to interview me for any reason, I'm available for that as well. So let me check the comments. So, thanks. Let's see. I will buy 10 shirts. Really, if silver gets to 30 in November, that's a stretch. It moves slowly, but it's possible. You'll buy 10 shirts? Okay, we'll hold you to that. Nuck Fugget. Everybody has to remember this. Nuck Fugget says he'll buy 10 shirts as silver gets to 30. Okay, I'd really like that too. So, no, I cannot consult with a meth lab. I don't know how to make that stuff. You could tell a story about taking a practice LSAT? Yeah, I did well I did well enough to teach for the LSAT, but I wasn't very good at logic games. Logic games are really hard, but I still scored in the 90 whatever percentile. I got like a 172 out of 180, something like that on the LSAT when I took it. And then I did really well at the GMAT and GRE too. So I taught for all of those tests. So, all right. So that's it. Those are all the different ways you can support Lift the Veil, including one-on-one consulting sessions. All right. So that's it for now. We'll see you at the next one, hopefully tomorrow. And for now, that is what it is.